Greed is one of the causes of suffering in life, but have you ever wondered why do people keep searching for more and more? In Buddhist teachings, greed is considered the root of all problems. The Buddha's teachings not only help us understand greed, but also guide us on how to overcome it. Let's explore these profound truths to find peace and happiness in life. You will be surprised to realize that letting go of greed is the key to true freedom and happiness. The Buddha said that these things are all evil. If people keep close to and always run after this greed without knowing how to stay away from it, they can be very harmful to themselves. He often uses the image of gold, silver, treasures, and property as poisonous snakes that will bite us to death. Instant retribution for greed. Human greed is like a bottomless bag. A bottomless bag, no matter how much gold and silver it contains, can never be full. Likewise, human greed is insatiable, so it has no stopping point, no limit, but is infinite. That is why people always chase after pleasure to enjoy, never knowing when to stop. Like a moth that flies into the light without knowing how dangerous it will be, and it has no way of knowing that when it flies into the light bulb, it will die immediately. Humans do not see the danger of greed, so the more greed, the more suffering. This greed is expressed in many different forms. Some people, because of greed, try to make a living by doing different jobs, such as working for the government, working for a company, farming, trading, raising livestock and poultry, staying up late and waking up early day and night, working hard to save up to build a career for themselves and their families. Thanks to their own efforts, when they have assets, they are always worried about losing them or being stolen. Greed is one of the underlying causes of human suffering and unhappiness. Rich people, although possessing a lot of money and assets, still have to live in anxiety and fear of loss. To preserve their wealth, they not only have to take care of it and preserve it, but also have to endure the stress of having to deal with theft, robbery, natural disasters, or even unexpected events in life. Negative emotions such as lamentation, crying, or even fainting when losing assets become an indispensable part of their lives. The strenuous efforts to accumulate assets become meaningless when they have to live in constant fear of loss. Not only the rich, but many others also fall into the trap of greed. Some people are willing to trade their dignity and conscience to participate in unethical behaviors such as accepting bribes or embezzling other people's property. They no longer distinguish right from wrong, but only know how to blindly pursue material values, leading to serious consequences not only for themselves, but also for society. The ambition for property is also expressed through gambling and betting, where people dream of wealth, but in the end have to pay with what they have. Losing not only brings disappointment, but can also break up families, destroy happiness, and cause heavy debts. The suffering of greed does not stop there. There are people who start with simple dreams like owning a bicycle, but when they achieve that, they continue to crave for a motorbike and then a car. Satisfaction becomes a luxury when greed never stops, causing people to fall into an endless spiral of desire. Every time they achieve a dream, they look for a new one, and in that journey they gradually lose the true values and meaning of life. In short, greed can lead to serious consequences not only for the greedy person, but also for society in general. It is important that we realize that true wealth does not only come from material assets, but also from spiritual values, emotions, and good relationships. Life will become more meaningful when we know enough and live contentedly with what we have. The sky and earth are vast, but human greed is even more vast. When having a lot of property, conflicts often occur, like family disputes, husband and wife disputes, father and son disputes, mother and son disputes, brothers and sisters disputes, friends disputes. People, because of material needs, money, property, pursue greed, stinginess, and selfishness for themselves. Therefore, family conflicts and loss of happiness also occur from here. The reason is also because of this greed, so there is no longer love, care for each other, often war, fighting and arguing with each other. All of the above desires have the same ending of suffering. Even though the desire to gain wealth, created by any form, always brings damage and danger to oneself, to relatives, and to the whole society. They are all actions of evil, of unwholesome deeds expressed in one's own body, speech, and mind. Because in the mind we often think about wanting to be richer than others, so our body and speech must act to harm ourselves, harm others, and harm living beings. If people stay close to and always run after this greed without knowing how to stay away from it, they can very well be in danger for themselves. He often uses the image of gold, silver, treasures, and property like a poisonous snake that will bite us to death. If people keep running after this greed to serve their lives, they will have to suffer forever, and the path of wandering in the cycle of birth and death will also start from here. The Buddha taught that those who give up greed will be liberated, no longer have to suffer, because the cause is not greedy, so the result is not suffering. When people know that it is because of greed that they suffer, then they should completely cut off and eliminate this greed. Then the result of peace and happiness will appear immediately. The Buddha taught very realistically. The pleasures are few, the sufferings are many, the worries are many, and the dangers are even greater. This is a saying that summarizes the Buddha's experience of the painful truth of life, often used by him to advise his monastic disciples, as well as his lay disciples, to control their sensory desires, to live a life of contentment and lack of desire, to no longer be influenced by sensual motives, and to facilitate their practice towards complete liberation from all bonds of suffering. The fight against greed in life. Greed is one of the biggest obstacles that lead to suffering and unhappiness. Everyone should learn the virtue of wanting little and knowing enough, staying away from unnecessary desires. Instead of craving for much, learn to feel fullness in every moment, even when faced with poverty and deprivation. Not complaining or blaming will help the soul become more peaceful, and there is no need to pray to Buddha to support wealth. Poor people can learn to live happily with what they have, while rich people also need to practice the virtue of knowing contentment. Do not indulge in luxurious lives, spend lavishly, and waste wealth. Unhappiness or happiness, wealth or poverty, luxury or simplicity, sufficiency or lack, all depend on the karma that each person has created. No one other than yourself is responsible for the good and bad things in life. It is not a god or a supreme being who blesses or curses anyone. Therefore, looking at life and what you have from a positive perspective will help the soul be more peaceful. The Buddha taught that in order to attain wealth, one must abandon greed, selfishness, stinginess, and stinginess. Only by abandoning these can one enjoy the worldly blessings, the material possessions that life offers. However, Once one has attained wealth, one should not let pride dominate. Wealth and prosperity are not eternal. They are conditioned phenomena and are impermanent. Therefore, one should not cling to them but learn to let go. Letting go not only helps people live more lightly, but also helps them stay away from the traps of sensual pleasures. When the body and mind are always peaceful and at peace, we will feel the immeasurable blessings, spiritual values that no one can take away. Happiness and peace of mind are the most important things because they help people overcome suffering, not being caught up in the vortex of life and death. The fight against greed is not only a personal journey, but also a valuable lesson for everyone. When we know enough, live peacefully, and let go of material desires, life will become more meaningful. Let contentment be the guiding principle for all actions and thoughts, thereby creating good things not only for ourselves but also for those around us. In the end, each of us can choose our own path in life, but choosing to live with contentment will help us go further on the journey to find happiness and peace of mind. Let simplicity and humility be the guiding light, helping us overcome all temptations of greed and live a meaningful life. Human greed is always one of the main causes of suffering and unhappiness. In Buddhist teachings, greed not only destroys peace of mind, but also causes chaos in daily life. Buddha taught that greed is like a fire. The more fuel is added, the more it burns fiercely. When we live with endless ambition, we will never feel satisfied and happy. Letting go of greed, on the contrary, will open the way to peace and freedom. When we know enough and live simply, life becomes much lighter, helping us to feel the good things around us. Let compassion and sharing dominate our souls instead of endless desires leading us. Let's practice together the Buddha's teachings to move towards a truly peaceful and happy life. Each of us can become a light for ourselves and for others when we know how to let go of greed. If you have your own views on greed in life, don't hesitate to share with us in the comments section. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other meaningful content. See you in the next videos.